I'm here with Della McDonald. Della, thanks for being with me today.
Thank you.
So, how old were you when you were diagnosed with autism?
I actually wasn't able to access any assessments until I was an adult, and in fact, after Rue received her diagnosis. And that's an ongoing problem within, I would say, most communities, is that after you age out of the school system, it's really difficult to receive those assessments. Something that's been a benefit for me is actually being a student at the U of R because they have more resources than I would otherwise be able to access.
What difference would have having that diagnosis made for you?
Having a diagnosis as a younger child would have prevented a lot of the struggles that I had in school. I was doing pretty well academically until I hit about 11 or 12, which is pretty common for people on the spectrum. And after that point, I struggled, I moved schools, I ended up moving to correspondence. So having that diagnosis for me would have meant that I could access supports that I would have been able to use to actually go through and have a better experience in school.
You have 3 kids. Tell me about your kids.
Yeah, I have 3 kids, age 6, 4, and almost 2. Um, they're wonderful. I don't know what else to say about them.
Rue is the one in the middle,
Yes.
and she has autism. What's that been like for your family?
Um, Honestly, I knew since she was fairly young. I would say that I started to notice that she had certain signs probably after the year mark. So I wasn't surprised. I was actually relieved when she received the diagnosis because it meant that I could start accessing supports for her.
What struggles does she have? Because it being a spectrum, obviously it's different for everybody.
She's such a good big sister. She tolerates being a little sister. She's doing really well in her classroom this year. She's in an integrated pre-K, and she's met and exceeded every goal we've set for her. So honestly, looking forward, I know that she's going to do just fine.
Tell me about how you're using art to kind of get your message out there.
For me, being a very visual person, it makes sense to put things into infographics and pictures and comics. It's just the easiest way that I can think to get a point across. And I find that it's easily digestible for people as well to see it drawn out.
What misconceptions do you find people have when you tell them that you have autism or that your daughter has autism, or even having conversations about what autism is?
I find that people really tend to go off what the popular representation of autism is. So they're expecting you to be like Rain Man or to be like a little kid who can't talk. And there's such a broad range of what it means to be autistic that there's really no way to define it. It's very person to person specific. So people, when you tell them, they'll either be taken aback, if they know about autism, I've had people say I'm not surprised. And yeah, sometimes they'll ask you more about it, and that's just something I've come to expect.
What do you want people to know?
Just that it's one way to exist as a human. There's nothing to fear about it. There's nothing that needs to be solved about it aside from having access to the supports we need. Yeah, it's okay to be autistic.